Hello, I'm glad you're here with me. We are going to be reading a Dr. Seuss story today, and this is actually a big book, and it's one long poem. And this poem practices a really cool element that we talk about when we're talking about poetry. This book is all about alliteration. Now, some of you may have read this story before, and that's totally okay. It's okay to read stories again to learn something new the next time you're reading. We're going to be reading Dr. Seuss's ABC, and while we're reading, we're going to be talking about alliteration. Alliteration is when a poet writes using the same letter at the beginning of a word. So he might have a line of the poem that has almost every word start with the letter B. Or she might write a poem and almost every word in the line starts with the letter M. It kind of gives it a different rhythm and it really emphasizes different words by using a certain sound. So we're going to read Dr. Seuss's ABC because this is the perfect way to illustrate alliteration. Let's get started. Big A, little a, what begins with A? Aunt Annie's alligator, A. Aunt Annie's alligator. That's alliteration. They all start with the letter A. Big B, little b, what begins with B? Barber, baby, bubbles, and a bumblebee. Do you hear how that kind of gives it a different rhythm? Barber, baby, bubbles, and a bumblebee. All using that B sound over and over. Big C, little c, what begins with C? Camel on the ceiling, C. Big D, little d, David Donald do, dreamed a dozen donuts and a duck dog too. Oh, now that one's just a little bit silly, a duck dog and dreaming about a dozen donuts. But using that D sound at the beginning of the words over and over really helps me think about this poem using alliteration. A, B, C, D, E. Ear, egg, elephant, E. Oh, he writes with such a good rhythm. You have to read it the way he wrote it. Big F, little F. Four fluffy feathers on a fiffer, feff. It's a little bit of a tongue twister, but it definitely helps give it that rhythm. Four fluffy feathers on a fiffer, feff, using that F sound. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, goat, girl, goo goo goggles, G. I always love the goo goo goggles. Big H, little h, hungry horse, hay, hen in a hat, hooray. Big I, little I, Ichabod is itchy, so am I. Big J, little j, what begins with J? Jerry Jordan's jelly jar and jam begin that way. It's a lot of J's in a row. Big K, little k, kitten kangaroo, kick a kettle kite and a king's kerchoo. Or another sound for a sneeze. He could have said kick a kettle kite and a king's sneeze, but that doesn't really follow the rhythm of alliteration, right? Kerchoo means the same thing and it follows the pattern. Kick a kettle kite and a king's kerchoo. It just sounds better. A lot of time poetry is just what sounds right, what sounds better. Big L, little Lola lop, left leg lazy lion licks a lollipop. Big M, little m, many mumbling mice are making midnight music in the moonlight mighty nice. Now, you'll hear not all of the words start with M, right? Many mumbling mice are making, right? There's no other word they could have used other than are. Midnight music in the moonlight. There's no other words we could use for in or the that start with M. Sometimes you have to have in little words in there that don't have the same alliteration. That's okay. Most words started with M. Big N, little n, what begins with those? 9 new neckties and a nightshirt and a nose. Oh, it makes me miss being at school with all of you in my bow ties. O is very useful. You use it when you say, Oscar's only ostrich oiled an orange owl today. That was hard. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Painting pink pajamas, policeman in a pail, Peter Pepper's puppy, and now Papa's in the pail. Most of those words started with the sound P. Big Q, little Q, what begins with Q? The quick Queen of Quincy and her quacking quackaroo. Big R, little r, Rosie Robin Ross. Rosie's going riding on her red rhinoceros. So a lot of these too aren't necessarily things that are actually happening, right? They're make-believe. I don't think she would actually go riding on a rhinoceros. A rhinoceros isn't even really red. But these are poetry sometimes can be silly, it can be make-believe, especially Dr. Seuss poems. Big S, little s, silly Sammy Slick. Sipped 6 sodas and got sick, sick, sick. Dr. Seuss could have named him Silly Billy Slick, but that wouldn't have sounded as right. He could have drank milk, sipped 6 milks. That doesn't quite fit. The Slick and the Sammy and the sodas and the silly, they all have that same alliteration. T, 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 T. What begins with T? 10 tired turtles on a tuttle, tuttle tree. Could have been an apple tree. Dr. Seuss made it a tuttle, tuttle tree because it fit the alliteration pattern. Big U, little u. What begins with U? Uncle Ub's umbrella and his underwear too. That one's silly. Big V, little v. Vera Violet Vin is very, very, very awful on her violin. Dr. Seuss could have had her playing a trombone or a piano, but since her name was Vera Violet Vin, he made her instrument start with the V sound too, so he picked violin. Viola would have worked too. That's another instrument that starts with the V sound. WWW, Willie Waterloo, washes Warren Wiggins, who is washing Waldo Woo. X is very useful if your name is Nixie Knox. It also comes in handy spelling axe and extra fox. Now, X is a hard word to do alliteration for because not a lot of words start with X. What I thought was great was Dr. Seuss used words that have X in the middle, and it still kind of follows that pattern because the words are all saying X. X is very useful if your name is Nixie Knox. It also comes in handy spelling axe and extra fox. Still has a little bit of alliteration, even though it's not at the beginning. That one's kind of breaking the rules a little. Big Y, little y, a yawning yellow yak. Young Yolanda Jorgensen is yelling on his back. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Big Z, little z. What begins with Z? I do. I am a zizzer zazzer zuzz, as you can plainly see. What a great story. I'm so glad that we got to read that and practice alliteration. Here's your literacy challenge for today. Can you pick a letter and can you write your own poem that has alliteration? It doesn't have to rhyme. It can if you want to make it rhyme, but it doesn't have to. But your goal is to try and make most of the words start with the same sound for the letter you choose. So if I choose the sound D or D, I might say that down the hill the dog dove into the dirt. And I use the D sound over and over. I'm practicing alliteration. See if you can do that for a letter. Maybe you can do the same letter that your name starts with and put U in your poem. That'd be really cool. Thanks for tuning in. Happy writing for your poetry with alliteration, and I'll see you next time. Bye.